Dr. G and Andy, how you doing today, guys?
Excellent. Excellent.
Cool. So we're trying a new format here. We've got three of us on this call, and we're going to dive into a really popular topic today. But before I say what that is, I want to just give a brief intro here. Dr. G is a renowned board certified chiropractic neurologist. He's dedicated to holistic health, and he's one of America's leading experts in lifelong optimized living. He has trained thousands of clients and practitioners within his own training program and has over 800,000 Instagram followers. We also have Andrew Cieply on today's call. He is a nutrition expert and a head coach at Co-Movement Gym. Today, we are going to dive into the $30 billion industry of supplements. I know at our facility, and I know Dr. G, you deal with this quite a bit on your end. We get so many questions and opinions, and you read articles, and obviously the supplement industry is extremely popular. So I want to jump in today, knowing that a lot of people are confused, maybe overwhelmed. Supplements are expensive. We don't know good quality, bad quality. The Co-Movement Gym podcast is sponsored by Native Path Supplements, Lombardi Chiropractic, and A Dog's Day Out Doggy Daycare. Mention this podcast or use the promo code in the episode description for a nice discount on us. I want to kick it off with what we may see as maybe an obvious question, but it's not to everyone listening. Can you out-supplement a bad diet? What do you guys think?
Well, wait, before you answer, Andy, because I think we all share the same answer to this. My question back to anybody listening to this is, how does that question make you feel? And that's probably the right answer, right? Obviously the answer is no, you could never out-supplement a bad diet. Just like you probably can't out-exercise a bad diet. Up to a right, like early on in your life, you certainly can get away with it, but it's going to catch up to you eventually. So, I mean, that's
I've got the exact same opinion. I think a lot of people turn to supplements really quickly because it's an easy way to try to fix a problem. So if you've got health concerns or you have certain wellness goals, the idea of just take this pill and I'll get to my goal is really enticing, and a lot of people want to go that route. But supplements are not the biggest lever that you can pull for your health. You want to get your nutrition dialed in. You want to get sleep. You want to be exercising. By far, those are the things that are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. And supplements help along the way, possibly for some people and for some conditions and goals. But the idea that supplements are going to be the thing that gets you to where you want to go is not the case. I think most people know that, like Dr. G said.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to just continue down that path and have a little discussion on, before we say, is it a good idea to take supplements? Because my answer to that is absolutely yes. There's a lot of questions that have to come before that. Like, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of a supplement, right? What is it you're trying to do? What is your goal, right? If your goal is something as vague as I want to be healthier, well, all of the supplements on the wall at that GNC or whatever store you buy your supplements from, well, I guess they're all can be considered good for you, depending on context. So why not take them all? Just buy thousands and thousands of bottles and spend the first 7 hours of your day trying to get them all into your body. Of course, nobody would do that. And then, the question becomes, well, why, right? Are supplements food? I don't think so. But supplements are just that. They're supplements to your diet. So is there a reason that you might be in need of something? If so, well, how do you know? A lot of people watch Dr. Oz or whoever, any celebrity doctor on TV, and they say, well, this particular goji berry is grown in the Himalayas and it's pure and it's this and it's that. And okay, I don't doubt that. Why am I supposed to take it? What is it providing me? Am I missing something that it has? So, those are the questions that people don't ask that I think they should. Is there a medicinal reason that I'm taking something, or is there a wellness reason? And those are two different reasons, right?
Yeah, I wanted to start this conversation off with just putting this out there, because we see here at our facility a client may be taking $200, $300, $400 a month in supplements, but they're missing the elephant in the room. And, they think that they're taking turmeric for inflammation, which will help with that, but they're consuming loads of sugar and white flour. And, I see this reoccurring pattern, not just here, but just with family and friends and conversation. And they'll be taking that goji powder, right? That's $70 a month because it's supposed to, give them better antioxidants. But when you start asking some more questions, a lot of times the obvious, people are missing the obvious. And so I know that the three of us know that you can't out supplement a bad diet. And most people would answer that the same way we would. But the question is, are they actually doing it? Right? Like if you're spending $200 to $400 a month in supplements, first and foremost, are you focusing on eating whole, real foods? Are you focusing on eliminating vegetable oils and sugar and alcohol? The big players there. So anything you guys want to add to that?
If you're trying to improve your health in some way, you've got some health concern that you want to resolve, what you want to do is get to the root cause of the issue. And the root cause of the issue is almost always something having to do with poor dietary choices, poor lifestyle choices, a sedentary lifestyle, that kind of thing. Supplements are often kind of a Band-Aid. They can help you with the symptoms a little bit, but they're not going to fix that underlying root cause unless a deficiency is the root cause, in which case a supplement might do that for you. But even in that case, I would still look at, why am I deficient? What is it in my diet that I'm not eating? And try to, eventually you're going to want to try to fix the root cause with these dietary and lifestyle factors. And then you won't need that specific supplement probably.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because you guys know me for a long time, and my specialty is actually doing blood work and making recommendations for people to take nutritional supplements in addition to making lifestyle changes to improve what we're seeing on their blood work. And there's a couple of things I want to make sure anybody listening to this knows is that I've done, let's just say, over the last 10 years, 10,000 sets of blood work. And there's not one single set of blood work that I've seen that I didn't have a recommendation. Now, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with 100% of the people who get their blood work done. It just means, we're looking at something and it could improve. Just like you guys, when you do an assessment on somebody's physical the way they move, the way they lift, the way they run, all the things. You could have the most incredible specimen on the planet. You're still going to have recommendations for them to improve based on your experience and knowledge, right? So when it comes to making recommendations for lifestyle, diet, sleep, exercise, all the things, and included in that is nutritional supplements, there are some things that I've seen that, if you say, well, I'm low in vitamin D. Well, what's wrong with my lifestyle that I don't have enough vitamin D? And the answer to that can be complex, because I know that, over 90% of people who don't supplement vitamin D have low vitamin D, right? Well, how could that be? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that, I think, and I don't know 100% sure, but one of the things we try to do with vitamin D is make sure that we have not an adequate amount, but a optimal amount based on what we know about vitamin D. So The optimal amount of vitamin D 30 years ago was what you would need to have healthy bones, because that was what we understood about vitamin D. And then since then, we've discovered vitamin D is really not a vitamin, it's a hormone. And that hormone's primary function is to regulate the immune system, or to play a big role in regulating the immune system. While still very important for bone formation, it has a bigger role, it's believed, in immune health. And this was made very clear during COVID, that people who had bad outcomes to a virus had vitamin D below a certain threshold. So understanding that about the immune system, we've changed our idea of what optimal means. And we live in a world that's far more insulting to our immune system, we believe, than ever before. So again, it's the quality of the question really will determine the answer. And, will you have a vitamin deficiency disease if your levels are, 30? Well, no, you're not going to get rickets, right? Which is the nutrient deficiency disease associated with vitamin D. But are you going to have optimal health for your immune system in a world that's far more insulting to your immune system than ever before? So then we say, all right, is it possible to live in today's society and say, well, how does vitamin D even get formed as a hormone in your body? Well, the sun hits your skin. There's a chemical reaction on the oily layer of your skin that occurs over 48 to 72 hours that helps you manufacture vitamin D from cholesterol. And your kidneys are involved, and there's several different pathways there. But, that oily layer means a lot. If we're out in the sun, we live in a very clean culture. I shower on a daily basis, and I was taught, to use soap liberally, because soap is cheap, and you just kind of, so you're out and about, out in the sun, having a great day. You're getting all this sunshine hitting your skin. You start manufacturing vitamin D. You go home, take a shower, and scrub off the oily layer that this chemical reaction is supposed to be occurring at. And next thing you know, you're not sufficient in vitamin D. Genetically, we didn't have such aggressive use of something that would exfoliate, that would remove oil from our skin, like soap. So that's a mechanism for modern people to be deficient in vitamin D that you would never think of. The other thing is, prior to Thomas Edison, the only source of light on planet Earth was the sun and fire. So with that being said, well, I'm in a room right now and I don't need the sun. I could hide from the sun as long as I want to. So then people say, oh no, I go out in the sun all the time. All right, but are you going out in the sun as much as your ancestors did before Thomas Edison, before the light bulb? Certainly not. So yes, compared to your neighbors, you might be getting more sun than the average bear. But compared to your ancestors, are you getting more sun than the average bear? The answer is no. And are you cleaner than your ancestors? The answer is hell yes. and I would rather supplement a little vitamin D than offend every time I came across somebody, because I don't shower. So there's, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you if you're deficient in something, but it's good to ask those questions. Am I optimized? And if not, why? And should I supplement? And if I do supplement, is it a long-term thing that I do forever? For me, vitamin D is forever. There are some supplements that I treat as food. And then there's things that I see on blood work that we can use supplements as a bridge to get you from where you are to where you need to be. And then the objective is to let your lifestyle then dictate your blood chemistry or your health from that point forward. You don't get your health from a plastic bottle is a line that I always use. You get your health from your diet and your lifestyle, but we use what's in the plastic bottle medicinally to get you from where you are to where you need to be. And that could be 3 to 6 months for some people, to fix what is wrong, so to speak. And how do we know we fixed it? We measure it. We do the blood work again. Can you check blood work for everything? Not really, but certainly there's a lot of low-hanging fruit there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had no idea with the oils. So like if I go for a run outside and I get an hour of sunlight on my skin and I go home and I take a shower within a half an hour, is that affecting like some kind of vitamin D process there?
Yeah. Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So Andy, did you know that?
Literally,
that
the
was
oil goes
new
down
to me.
the
That's
drain.
really interesting, and it makes me wonder what the amount of time is that it takes for vitamin D production to take place after you've been in the sun. So should I wait 1 hour after being in the sun before I shower, or 2 or 6? I wonder what the amount.
No. So that's knowable, and I think we can look it up. I don't know. I want to say 48 to 72 hours for the maximum benefit there. And the truth is, if you were, if you were a lifeguard in Laguna Beach, you're getting 15,000 international units a day of vitamin D from your sun exposure, right? So then it becomes like, well, how much sun exposure is optimal? I don't know the answer to that, but I know that 15,000 international units a day, it's a nice number.
Yeah.
If you're manufacturing it yourself, it's not going to poison you,
So I wonder with this, like time, like we can or should maybe, if possible, delay washing those oils off as long as comfortably possible. So like no.
I love where you're going with that, but it's not that complicated. You don't have to, use soap where the sun don't shine.
Yeah.
But you don't have to lather up your whole body with soap. You could take a shower. You could let the water hit you. The water is not going to remove the oil, right? It's the soap that is the detergent that breaks the oil down and makes it go down the drain and makes our skin dry and, opens up cracks in your skin. I mean, there's all kinds of issues associated with dry skin and a lot of the products that we use. But no, go ahead, take a shower. And like I said, if you don't want to offend, there's not a lot of vitamin D going on here. So you can you can use soap, like I said, where the sun don't shine, which is really where it matters as far as offending people go. But, there's no reason to just lather up your whole body and use that much soap.
Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating. I had no idea on that. Andy, it sounds like you didn't either. So we have a new strategy now.
Well, I think we're going to need some of our listeners to verify some of this on, ChatGPT or whatever, and see if we're just full of shit or really. But I can tell you, we're on that subject, we're definitely not full of shit. I could tell you.
Well, we might get a few Instagram comments, Dr. G, like we always do, that are very, very interesting. And then you chime in and then you pose a question back to them. And in many cases, it gets into a nice quality, conversation after that, Cool. Native Path has been a podcast sponsor of ours since day one. And it's because our clients feel amazing using their supplements. While a lot of products on the market today contain useless fillers and incorrect dosages, Native Path holds to a higher standard. Native Path's ingredients are sourced from only the highest quality, properly combined nutrients, all while being offered at competitive prices. Use code COMO15, that's COMO15 at checkout, and receive 15% off each order. Lombardi Chiropractic has been Co-Movement's trusted chiropractor for the last 14 years. They have worked with hundreds of our clients, and I can confidently say they have the most knowledgeable and holistic approach to care that I have ever seen. Whether you suffer from migraines, low energy, nagging pain, or just simply want to improve your overall health, I highly recommend contacting the team at Lombardi Chiropractic. Mention the Co-Movement Gym podcast and receive 50% off your initial consultation and x-rays. Here at Co-Movement, we put a lot of energy into helping you become happy, healthy, and strong. But we're not the only ones needing a good workout. That's why a dog's day out is the best place in Central New York for your pet to spend their day. Your dog will be as happy and healthy as you when you let them run, play, and socialize instead of just sitting on the couch waiting for you to come home. Give your dog the active day out that they deserve. Mention this podcast and get a free day of doggy daycare at a dog's day out. Anything else, Andy? What do you got on your mind, like with supplements or clients' observations? Like, what's
how
out
do you want
there
to
for
tackle
you?
this? You sent over a list of some of your thoughts, and one of them was your top 5 supplements you think everyone should take. Considering you guys have both brought up vitamin D, and it's probably on your list, should we try to tackle that list and add a little more to it?
Yeah, I think like from a listener standpoint, everyone likes these lists and tips and whatnot, which is good. So yeah, let's we could do a fast forward version of what the three of us think are, whether it's our own popular supplements with ourselves or clients or health in general. And again, as a disclaimer for everyone listening, we don't know you. We're not making recommendations to you specifically. We're just making a blanket statement in terms of popular important supplements. So yeah, Andy, kick that off. What
to your point
what do you think?
The top 5 supplements that everyone should take is a question that we can't answer. Everyone is different. They have different needs, different issues that they're dealing with. I think a better way to phrase it is what are maybe the top 5 supplements that we think most people might benefit from, or that are most commonly benefited. So for me, I had vitamin D on my list also. I guess if we want to just add one each or something, I think, Josh, you also had magnesium on your list, which I know is an incredibly important nutrient involved in a ton of biochemical processes in the body. And at least half the population seems to be deficient in it from all the numbers that I see. Who knows what the exact number is, but magnesium deficiency seems to be a really common problem, and it can lead to a variety of symptoms in people. So to me, that just seems like one of the most important ones that a lot of people could benefit from. And I think you had it on your list too, right, Josh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll add to that supplement. It's my number one personally, with my lifestyle, and just it's a supplement I get a lot of bang for taking that. We had a client in the gym just this morning before this podcast, and she was getting calf cramps at night, and some other issues. And I had said, are you still taking magnesium, which I recommended 6 months ago? And she had said, no, I stopped. And, my guess is, again, it's a guess, but I'm guessing that she's deficient in magnesium. And we've solved and cured a lot of, ailments with people with just making a recommendation of getting a complex magnesium supplement of, 400 to 800 milligrams in your system a day. And again, you could go down a rabbit hole with the super specifics with it, but yes, magnesium is on my list, and also vitamin D. So Dr. G, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah. This is a conversation that I think every couple of years, my answer is going to change. Back in 2006, 2007, my answer would have been vitamin D, probiotics, and omega-3.
Okay.
And now I'm not so sure. So vitamin D, yes, just because of what I see with blood work. So that didn't change, but probiotics and omega-3, there's, definitely a conversation to be had about that. And then on the magnesium side, it's interesting because you're right. I think there's a preponderance of the evidence is saying that people are deficient in magnesium, and I wonder why. I don't, because magnesium is a mineral, like it's not a vitamin, far different from what vitamin D is, or, we said vitamin D is not even a vitamin, it's a hormone. And then that's far different from vitamin C, and it's far different from magnesium. So My wonder is, okay, I don't think in today's day and age we can take minerals like calcium and magnesium and say that there's just not enough of it in our diet. I just don't think that that's possible. There is no shortage of calcium in the American supermarket, right? As far as the foods we have to choose from. And I believe the same is true for magnesium. Then the question becomes, is there an absorption issue or is there a loss issue? And on the loss side, I lean more towards loss, although absorption is an issue for a lot of people. Again, nutrient absorption is certainly going to be an issue for people who have gastrointestinal, some of the most popular medications are to treat GI disorders, right? So if you take antacids, if you have irritable bowel syndrome, if you have any inflammatory bowel issue, loose stool, diarrhea, constipation, alternating between all those. I mean, you have no idea how common those things are. Then, nutrient absorption is in question. And then it's a matter of, all right, well, do I need to supplement until I address that issue? I think the answer could be yes, but I also think there are foods that will actually prevent us from absorbing. It doesn't mean we have a gut problem that we need to go see a gastroenterologist, but there are foods. So for example, foods that have phytates in them, right? A phytate is a, part of a plant, commonly seen in legumes and nuts and seeds and things like that, where those are considered anti-nutrients because they prevent you from absorbing, right? They prevent you from absorbing. And then if you're not absorbing, then of course you're deficient, even though your diet is not deficient. And then there's loss. There are people who have a diet that, like people who drink a lot of carbonated beverages, will have to they'll have to like have a flux of magnesium and calcium in order to buffer their pH. Because people say, oh, you have an acidic diet, your body is acidic. No, it's not. We have a very specific narrow range of pH in which you can be alive. So if your internal pH was that of a lemon, like 6 point something, you'd probably be dead. Matter of fact, I heard a doctor saying that in the emergency room, they can take somebody's pH and predict if they're going to survive whatever crisis they're
Wow.
in. So what happens is we can have a diet that moves us, that maybe causes our body to want to move towards a lower pH or an acidic pH, but we prevent the pH from going down, from becoming more acidic, by buffering. And we can buffer in many ways. We buffer through our GI tract, we buffer through our lungs, and we use things like calcium, magnesium for that buffering effect. So that's a great example of you can't out supplement a shitty diet, because if you're drinking soda and eating, lots of grains, and you're taking in those anti-nutrients, well, you're deficient in a lot of things because you're not absorbing them. People say that grains have all these nutrients. Well, they do, but does it mean that you're absorbing them?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't the anti-nutrients or the phytates or the other plant defense chemicals, could they actually prevent you from absorbing the nutrients that are actually in the grain, the whole grain that you believe is getting into your system, and it never really gets into your system?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's fascinating. So I'm interested to see, like, I'm assuming, let's just talk about magnesium more. Activity level. So like, Andy and I train quite a bit. Not professional level or 20 plus hours a week, but we train, and Dr. G, you're aware of some of the volume we do. And so I can't, and maybe this is mental at this point, but I really can't fall asleep until I have my 600 to 800 milligrams of magnesium with zinc, and I put turmeric in there too. But I don't know. Maybe I'm not absorbing the magnesium I take in. I don't know if it's because of my training. I really don't know. I do know though, and I've made this observation, is that if I'm on a deload week or an off week, which very rarely do I not move, quite a bit in a week. But if I did, I need less magnesium. And so I don't know. What are your thoughts in terms of that? Like, if we're talking about the generalized person that works out 1 to 3 days a week for 45 minutes with a desk job, as compared to Andy and I, as compared to someone training 20 hours a week, like their magnesium requirements are dramatically different, right? Or no?
Well, okay. So, and again, just you guys know what I do for a living. So my answer is always going to be a pain in the ass because my brain goes in a different direction. So to your point, you need your 600 to 800 milligrams of magnesium to fall asleep. Does that mean you're deficient in magnesium? Well, no, that's not a test for that. So then the question is, are you making yourself sufficient in magnesium with that supplement and therefore functioning better and therefore sleeping? Or are there other things that are interfering with your sleep that magnesium can be used medicinally to help you combat? So one says I'm insufficient and therefore I need sufficiency, like my body has a need that is not met and I take the supplement and I now meet that need. Or do I have what I need, but amount of time I spend at the computer, the stress, the bills, the fights with the spouses and all this stuff. And, Andy pissed me off for some reason today, and your mind is racing and you just can't fall asleep, and you take the 800 milligrams of magnesium. And because of what that can do for muscle relaxation and brain function, you're able to fall asleep. But again, that's more of a medicinal value to magnesium rather than a nutrient value to magnesium. I know it seems like semantics, and you're better off erring on the side of, taking it because there's no upper limit of magnesium. Yes, if you do take too much, you'll get diarrhea, and that's okay. Yep. It's not like you get permanent diarrhea. If you take too much of anything, you can get diarrhea. If you take too much vitamin C, you get diarrhea. If you take too much creatine, you get diarrhea. So, diarrhea is a way for your body to know, all right, I did fine at 800 milligrams. I took 1,200. I got diarrhea. All right, let me notch it back a little bit. That's called bowel tolerance.
Yes.
So don't be afraid of that. But again, the question is, am I deficient, or do I just need some help falling asleep?
Yeah, that's interesting because for me, I think my specific issue without it is my body physical structure, muscles, have a hard time saying it's time to shut off. Like not a restless leg syndrome, but like I don't know, they're not ready to decompress. Maybe that's stress, sympathetic nervous. I don't know. Andy knows I sleep great. Like I sleep, like we joke about it. Like that's, I'm out for 8 to 9, sometimes 10 hours a night, and I get very high quality sleep. So I don't know. You brought up some very interesting points there. So yeah,
Dr. G,
that's some great insight.
Whether you are deficient or not, how easy is that to test for? So this goes to the importance of blood work, but I assume you're testing with blood work, and that's going to measure magnesium levels in the blood. How much do they fluctuate daily, and how accurately can you diagnose if someone is magnesium deficient from one lab?
So the amount, your serum magnesium is easy to measure and it's pretty accurate. And, what is the fluctuation of your serum magnesium throughout the day? Not much. I don't believe it fluctuates much. But serum, what's in your blood, is not exactly what's in your cells, right? So when you order a lab test, we can screen by using a serum. If we want to spend a few more bucks, then we would order RBC magnesium, red blood cell magnesium, which gives us an intracellular number, which is far more valuable to the clinician because what's inside the cell is what matters, because that's all those enzymatic activities that magnesium is involved in occurs in our cells. So, the reference range for that, as research improves, has fluctuated quite a bit. So we err towards the upper end of that. Again, there really is no toxicity associated with minerals, right? So I would rather, if the upper end of the reference range, let's just say, is 7, well, I'd rather be at 7 than if the lower end is 5.4, than to be at 5.4, right? So I usually recommend people increase their magnesium. But to answer your question, red blood cell magnesium is a better marker. Serum magnesium has value, but is, again, a lot cheaper and easier to do. It's a good screening tool. If you really have a question about magnesium, just pay a few extra bucks and get the RBC magnesium.
Dr. G, do you supplement magnesium?
I do. Every day.
You do. Okay. Like
now, it's not because of I don't do the volume of fitness that you guys do. You guys, I mean, you say you're not professional. I did both of your VO2 max. You're you're as close to professional as and somebody who has something else to do for a living can be. But you guys are certainly doing the volume of professional athletes. I mean, you guys put in a lot. I don't do that. Again, if your diet is, so I just don't think it's a deficiency thing. I don't think you're losing so much magnesium in your sweat. You do lose magnesium in your sweat. I just don't think you're losing so much that you're not repleting it with your diet. I just think the issue is probably more related to other factors, and again, I just don't know that you're deficient.
Sure. Yeah, that's great insight.
Gosh, based on the way that you eat, I'd be shocked if you were deficient in magnesium. I think you get a lot of it. You might be. I have no idea. And you don't eat the sort of problematic foods that Dr. G was talking about that are loaded with phytates and that, those mineral binding anti-nutrients. So I'd be surprised if you were deficient. But I don't know why it is that you feel like you can't sleep unless you've had your magnesium. Maybe it's in your head a little bit.
Well, yeah. I honestly, I think at this point it probably is in my head, but then also, and Dr. G, I think you mentioned this, but like a pre-sleep routine, like we're busy, right? 2 kids, one's really young, one's 11. A lot of times we're having dinner at 8:00 at night just because of sports or whatever. Like, so maybe it is a pre-sleep routine. Who knows? But yeah, that is great. Dr. G, you brought up probiotics. I think you or Andy had mentioned them. I'm interested personally, and I've read a lot on both sides of the coin here. Yes or no to probiotics? I know they make 100,000 different strains and they market it differently. Some say they're dead in the box. Some say they need to be refrigerated. Some say they really help them. Some say they don't. I'm interested in both of your opinions, Andy and Dr. G. Probiotics, yes, no? What do you think?
I can go first. You're really short. Probiotics are one of the categories of supplements that I've never quite been able to figure out because of all of the uncertainty around it that you just mentioned. And the gut microbiome is incredibly complex. There are so many different strains of bacteria in your gut. What do they, what does this strain do versus that strain? Which strain might you need versus me? I've never been able to figure out any good way to determine an answer to those questions. And so I haven't really taken probiotics very much. I've used them on occasion. When I worked at a vitamin store, I would get samples and things like that. But I haven't really been able to figure out whether they'd be a useful part of my supplement routine or most people's. So I don't actually take a probiotic and haven't for a while.
Okay, yeah, and I don't either. So I'll just throw that in there
through a good healthy diet that supports those things.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, Dr. G, what do you think about that?
Giant can of worms. I say a giant can of worms because there's no question that the conversation around bacteria and human health is, very obvious, right? So the microbiome story, we have a microbiome in our mouth. We have a microbiome in our gut, the way you guys described. We have a microbiome on our skin. And altering the microbiome through poor health causes pretty clear problems. So again, going to that soap conversation around, you're not only getting rid of the oily layer of skin, you're getting rid of your microbiome, protective microbiome on your skin. And then when it comes to your GI tract, well, yeah, okay, we know there's 10 times more bacteria in your gut than cells in your body, which means 90% of your DNA doesn't even belong to you. We've been hearing that since 2005. Does that mean that we can take thousands and thousands of healthy people, look at their microbiome and determine what strains everybody needs? I think the answer to that is clear. Absolutely not. And I can go into why I believe that. And I think there's a lot, there's a lot of reasons to believe that. Are there certain strains of bacteria that have been studied medicinally to impact obesity, cardiovascular health, mental health, et cetera? The answer is yes. Does that mean people are deficient in those? I don't know that that's the case. This gut-brain connection is very real. It's very powerful. Understanding the microbiome in that context is super important. And then there's, on the not taking probiotics as a supplement side of the equation, what do the bacteria in your gut use to create a better environment for themselves? The answer is fiber, right? And then you say, oh, that means we must have fiber in our diet. Well, fiber is not a nutrient that, if you're deficient in, it causes disease. There is no minimum daily RDA requirement for fiber. And there are people who are incredibly healthy who consume 0 grams of fiber per day. Again, I'm not saying that what I'm saying is those people are not sick. And what's going on in their microbiome? And I have this beautiful little dog, 20-pound dog, that eats nothing but raw meat his entire life, as all canines should do. Certainly, if you're a coyote, you're not sitting there chewing on leaves like a deer. You're chewing on deer. So there's no fiber in their diet. And what's their microbiome like? And do they have deficiencies in there? Now, again, we're not canines. I get it. But we are omnivores. We can be very healthy. Just being, eating vegetables, because we're omnivores. We can adapt. But we can also adapt to being a carnivore. And then you say, all right, well, if you need fiber to create a better environment, because fiber is the food used by the bacteria, and therefore it creates that abundance of probiotics, right? And then what happens in the absence of fiber?
Yeah.
Well, the answer is a whole different class of bacteria are going to show up and start fermenting amino acids.
Wow.
And it's going to be a completely different class. And what percentage of the population is carnivore? The answer is very small. And I promise you that the companies that do these stool tests and determine what's normal, abnormal, low, and high of different strains of bacteria, they're certainly not looking at the microbiome of somebody on a carnivore diet and saying this is part of what's normal or abnormal. No, they're taking people who are standard American people and looking at their microbiome. And if they're considered healthy, and we know in research what healthy means I don't have a disease. Well, are we really going to say, oh, I'm missing lactobacillus and let me take a bunch of lactobacillus pills? Now, if you have a health problem, can taking probiotics or eating yogurt or sauerkraut help you? The answer is yes. Can it harm you? The answer is yes. There's no shortage of people who have an adverse reaction to increasing their bacteria in their gut, partly because that bacteria settles in their small intestines where it doesn't really belong and creates fermentation where it doesn't really belong, and it creates inflammatory symptoms. So people who eat sauerkraut, yogurt, and take probiotics, some of them don't do well. Some of them do very well. It's just a matter of what it is you're trying to do. I just think there's not enough information. There's just not enough information out there on this subject. I would rather just say create the healthiest environment in your gut by eating the best foods that are not processed, whether that includes fiber or not. I don't really care. Again, I'm in the minority. There are people who are going to flip their lid when they say, or when they hear me say, you don't need a lot of fiber. I just know there are people who don't consume fiber who do just fine. And their GI tract is fine. And now there's anecdotal evidence, because people want to test this. These carnivore people are doing these pre and post tests on their stool and looking to see if, when they go carnivore, if their microbiome improves or not. And many of them are reporting their microbiome improves. And again, it just goes against the whole fiber thing. Now, the research saying that fiber improves your microbiome is clear. It does. But does the absence of fiber mean that you're going to make it worse? I don't know the answer to that.
Wow, fascinating stuff. Wow, this is a great conversation. We've got 10 minutes left, guys. Dr. G, Andy, what else is on your mind with this topic? Anything you want to toss
did you have
out
any
there?
talking points that you wanted to hit on this?
Yeah, it's kind of tough for me because my mind dwells in things that might not be as interesting, to regular conversation. But I'm 54 years old. I do want to use supplementation more aggressively for a few reasons. One is I just know that as we age, our digestive enzyme capacity does change. Just like our VO2 max, declines with time, and you can have a steeper decline or a more shallow decline, but it's going to decline. I think the same is true with digestive enzymes. It doesn't mean that I'm going to not be able to digest my food as I get older. I just won't be able to do it as efficiently. So I like to, cook food in a way that makes it, I guess, a little easier to digest. But also from a supplement standpoint, I do want to enhance my fitness. And there are some shortcuts. I mean, I want to be strong. And I think creatine supplementation really helps with that. But again, that is not because I'm deficient in creatine, because I eat plenty of it. But I do like to use it as a performance enhancing drug. And again, it's okay to say that, my cup of coffee is a performance enhancing drug. It's okay to understand the value that something has. When I use creatine, it's because I would like to be strong and stay strong. And I know that if I can put a load on my muscles that is higher than what I could without the creatine, well, then I give my muscle that stimulus, and my decline as I age hopefully will be more shallow than steep. So
it's
that
cool
I
you bring
think
up
is a good
creatine, because
topic.
I put that as a potential one for even my top 5 list for most people, which I would not have done, maybe 20 or 30 years ago when I first encountered it, and I thought of it only as a sports performance thing. The safety is pretty well established for creatine. Most people are not going to hurt themselves unless you have maybe some, kidney issues that you're dealing with or something like that. But yeah, the importance of it for recycling ADP into ATP so that you can have more muscle energy, get more. We all know about the benefits of exercise. We want to get as much from our exercise program as possible. Something that helps me work out a little bit longer, recover faster. That's going to allow me to get more of the benefits from exercise that I'm looking for. But then there's also a lot of studies or research coming out now on brain health with creatine, and the possibility of it helping improve cognitive function and maybe even prevent age-related cognitive decline. I kind of just think it might be something that a lot of people would benefit from, probably most people, and even populations that creatine would not have normally been marketed to, because usually it was marketed to athletes, but I think the elderly population might benefit a lot from creatine. I don't want to make any recommendations, and everyone's different, but I think it's probably something that a lot of people could use. And I do take creatine.
It's interesting when we were talking, and I think this is a great subject for I think we can continue this conversation on future podcasts, but just to be respectful of the time we have left. It's funny, a lot of the supplements that I find to be very valuable at this stage of my life for myself and my patients are amino acids, right? So, creatine is found in protein that we eat. Also, when it comes to gut health and immune health, I liberally use L-glutamine. Again, another amino acid. I use it for myself and for my patients. And then I'm often asked, what's the one supplement that if the federal government said, Dr. Geanopulos, we're going to make all nutritional supplements completely illegal except for one, which one would you like it to be? And my answer is, I used to flippantly say NAC, N-acetylcysteine, which is an amino acid. And the reason I would say that is because of its value as a precursor molecule to glutathione, which is something your body makes that is very protective. It's your body's force field. Supremely important for immune function, and immune function will absolutely dictate your longevity, in my opinion. So those are 3 amino acids, right? Creatine, L-glutamine, and acetylcysteine. A little caveat: I am in the nutritional supplement formulation business, so I do think a lot about this stuff, and I do have my own company associated with that. That I provide for professionals, but I think that's a good conversation to have. And why amino acids? Is it because we're deficient in protein as a culture? I think there's a strong argument for that.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. That was on my list, and that was, you guys sort of answered the question I had. Was if you eat a lot of red meat, should you still supplement creatine? And it sounds like yes. And so it's funny because I cycle on and off of it, but I definitely feel better training wise when I take it. So yeah, hopefully that provides insight for listeners. So yeah, we're going to continue this conversation and many other conversations here. We're going to make this a pretty common theme here, the three of us here. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys are too. So thank you, Andy and Dr. G, for your time today. Dr. G, how can listeners learn more about you and what you're doing? And then you'd also said that you are in the supplement industry also. So if you want to throw that name out.
Yeah, sure. So my professional life is geared towards not only my patients, but also my colleagues, people who are healthcare providers who are doing blood work. And I have a company, Cyrene Labs, associated with providing products that move the needle on blood chemistry and doing those kinds of assessments. These are not supplements that are readily available to the general public because my doctors are my clients, but their patients are our clients. And Cyrene Labs is expanding into providing everyone with valuable education as it relates to blood work and all of those things. So just keep an eye on anything that's at Dr. Stephen G, Instagram, YouTube, all the social media platforms, as well as my website, drsteveng.com. So it's, DRSTEVENG. Everything is associated with that tag. So that's where you could find out more and more about what we're doing. And I do speak quite a bit. So August 17th, I'm going to be at the Florida Chiropractic Association event called The National. It's the second biggest event for our industry in the country for the year. I'm really excited about it because I'm going to be speaking on everything that we talk about, blood chemistry, VO2. And for healthcare providers and chiropractors, that's the place to be. So thenationalchiro.com or .org is the place to go if you wanted to see me in Orlando for 2 hours speaking on metabolic health and all the things we're talking about here.
Awesome. Great. All right. Well, Andy, Dr. G, thank you.
Thanks,
we will
Dr.
talk
G.
real soon. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider supporting our sponsors, Native Path Supplements, Lombardi Chiropractic, and A Dog's Day Out Doggy Daycare. They help us bring you 2 new episodes each month and have a special discount just for our listeners. See the show notes for more details. Thank you, and see you next time on the Co-Movement Gym podcast.